In Season 2 of the Nested Healing Podcast, From Surviving to Thriving, we will take you with us on our journey to the many nourishing lands of healing. With a new guest for each episode, we will get to embark on each of their healing journeys, with their curiosity being, what challenges did they face, and just how did they manage to come up on the other side? From self-love and acceptance, all the way to dance and movement, we will explore the myriad of healing components shining in each of our guests' stories. How can we relate and apply this to our own lives? How can we brighten our light through a dark tunnel? Stay with us on our beautiful deep dive into healing.
Welcome back to the Nested Healing Podcast. Welcome in, get cozy. Today we have the wonderful guest, Niamey. And would you like to introduce yourself and kind of go from there?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Niamey Thomas. I born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, where I currently reside. I am a professor of dance. I teach hip hop at a university, and I love dancing. I love hip hop. I use hip hop to make meaning of the world a little bit. I am a believer. I'm Christian. I don't know. I love politics, and I used to work. I've done a lot of work in my life. I'm in my 30s, so I have some experience with different life things, and I'm just excited to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. We are as well. Very excited. Hee. Anyways. So I guess the first question of the podcast is where do you want to start? Where does your journey start for you? How would you like to introduce it?
So I don't know. I'm going to grad school to get my MFA in dance. I was just accepted. And so I'm doing that. I start in the fall, and I will be studying hip hop as resistance and just, what that looks like and what that means. I'm currently in a space where I'm actively choosing to resist. Something I've been realizing is channeling this reality of my ancestors resisted. I'm Black and Mexican. And so there's a lot of culture there of resistance, right? I was talking to my mother yesterday, and I was talking to my mom and my dad. And my dad, who's a Black man, my mother's Mexican. And my dad was telling me that yesterday there were different protests all over the nation. And I was like, he's never told me. And I was like, have you ever protested? And he's like, no, I won't put my body, right? As a Black man, I won't put my body on the line. And I've been to various protests. And I was just like, oh, you should go with me next time. And my mom, her mother and her father, who were both born in Mexico, actively participated in protests. And so my mom has been to plenty. And so my mom was like, that's where you get it from. You get it from me. We did that. We participated. And it just makes me think of how interconnected we are to families that we don't even know, right? She had shared some stories about her grandmother and different ways she's participated just in life. And it's that's crazy that you are describing me and I've never met this woman. Right. I had known nothing about her. She's a part of me without me even knowing. And I just wanted to share that story. So I think that helps me navigate where I want to go. I think that helps me to realize that it's bigger than just me. Right. I think we get so caught up in Niamey. How does Niamey feel? What does Niamey think? What does Niamey need versus I'm carrying people who came before me. In the Bible, it talked a lot about Abraham's God and then Jacob's God, and they were father, son. And so it's like the same thing of that, right? When I think about like, I am Niamey Thomas's daughter, like that's who I come from. And so I carry the traumas that they have, but I can also step into and carry the healings that they've also participated in. And I don't think we think about that enough. I think, our society is so individualistic. We think about the journey I've been on. I did this, all this healing. I've been through this. I've overcame this. And it's like, well, what did we do as a unit? What did our community do? And so I'm very community minded, and I try to think of my community instead of just a Niamey. And that's one way I resist, right? I resist the urge of like being individualistic. I resist the urge of me, myself, and I. But what do we look like? What does our healing look like? So
Beautiful. Well laid out. That was amazing. Okay. This just like me on a tangent a little bit. Obviously you live a very intersectional life. You see many different forms of everything. Two things kind of come to mind for me. I too live kind of an intersectional. I'm mixed. I'm Mexican, Armenian, and white, so I'm like a weird triage. Not quite the same, but have similar effects of feeling the ancestral toll. I almost call it a lot of times of like I am these people who come before, but I'm also myself. It also reminds me, have you ever heard of a woman named Trisha Heresy?
rest is resistance. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So it reminded what you were saying was like it just came up to my brain and I was like, "Ooh, I wonder." So yeah, and I can feel you take in a little bit of that too. I feel like.
Yeah, so I actually have her book right here. Not to she is a phenomenal woman. The Nat Bishop is what she calls herself. I want to get her second book, but I have her first book, and it's right here because I'm actively reading it. But I do resist again, right, in different ways, and I think resistance is a part of healing, right? Being able to heal some of our traumas, I think, comes with a resistant of keeping on, right? We've been told, again, just put your head down. You'll get over it. Just focus. And so even her in her practice of resting, I take a nap every day. I take a nap every day. I am fortunate enough with my jobs where I have some extra time during the day. I teach primarily in the afternoon and at night. And so in order for me to show up as the best version of myself, I take a nap, a minimum nap of 30 minutes. Sometimes I take it longer depending on what my body needs. But I would say that's been a part of my journey of getting here, but also of returning back to myself. We live in such a violent world, and there's always violence upon us. And a lot of times violence is a simple thing of like, I didn't sleep well last night. Right? Like, and so I'm actively participating in rest, and with spring is here, and in Arizona, it's a beautiful time of the year, and so I go outside and I just put a blanket in the grass and I'll sit in my backyard and read or listen to music or just listen to the birds. I live with my brother, and so he has a cat, and so I'll bring the cat out and he'll just sit there with me, and we just like actively participate in this resistance. And I also understand that comes with a level of privilege, right? It has been a lot of work to get myself into a space where I'm okay with how much money I make. Now, I wish I made more, right? And I wish things weren't so expensive. But I don't want to be wealthy in money, in monetary. Like I don't desire that. And so I shape my life in a way where I have free time to just do that, to rest, to sit, to journal, to read. And that's been a part of my journey. Now it's going to look different when I go to grad school. But I understand seasons, right? Just like fall, winter, spring comes and goes. There's a 3-year program I will be a part of. I may not be able to take naps in these 3 years or whatever that may look like, but that doesn't mean that that season lasts forever. And so being able to also understand that, I think, has been a part of my journey.
I love the way you phrase that as seasons. Because for me, when I think of it kind of that way, me and my friends kind of have a similar way. We think in like TV shows or like, media, how like you have different seasons and different problems will rise. So I really appreciate the way you phrase that. It also brings to mind a thought of the word resilience, where it's not, I've had many conversations with my professors here. I'm a student in a GEMS program. Um, so one of the things we talk about is like resilience is adding into kind of the like infrastructure of things where what am I trying to say? Like the infrastructure of society. Let's say it that way, right? Where it's like rebellion is the same thing as resilience, but not always gratified the same way. Where like resilience is like, I can only think of it in like the easiest way of exampling it would be like disability terms, where it's like you're resilient because you're able to do work outside of whatever your situation is, right? But it's also rebellion against your form of whatever you're in. You're able to rebel against it to be able to do more. So I guess my kind of question to you is like, do you feel in the way that you're working towards and the amazing things that you're doing, do you feel like maybe that kind of resonates? Because to me, I see you, and that's kind of how I'm viewing is like you're amazing. You're able to like rebel and do a lot and do it for your sake, and you understand like your where you stand in the world, your intersectionality. You understand that really well. So I guess that's kind of my. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I appreciate how you I appreciate what you said. So I've always had a problem with resiliency. I think it's a important thing. But so I'm first generation American on my mother's side. And then I was also first generation college student. And when I went to my undergrad, I ended up being a first year success coach, is what we called them. And it's where we helped freshmen make sure they navigate. We were the connectors. A lot of times people get lost in the sauce of university. And so we were supposed to be the ones that like had access. So I had direct access to deans and other people that they couldn't access. And then my second year, I specifically worked with first generation students because I had that same experience. And something that was a constant push from my boss at the time was like, they're resilient. They're resilient. Think of resilience as this band that just continues to go and it snaps back into shape. But the way I always received it is it was from abuse, right? Like you would snap it as far, you would take someone as far as they can go and see how they survive. And it's like, it's always been, I've always received it as that. I could never get my mind wrapped around, like that was the definition to me because that's how it was explained. Right. And I don't think they meant to explain it like that, but that's how I received it. Like you were basically telling me to abuse my body, abuse my mind, be exploited as far as I can go, and then I'm just going to be okay. And it's like, well, no, that's not the accuracy, right? That's not true. But for you to call it rebellion, I think that's an interesting way to take that. And I want to put that in my pocket and revisit that another time. But I am definitely in rebellion. Life is hard. Life is hard. And life can be very long, right? You can go 65 years. You can go 25 years. It doesn't matter how long you're on this earth. Life is long. It could be short, a 6-year short thing. 6 years is still long. Like that's a long journey. And I think that at a time right now with everything happening in the world, we need to be rebellious, right? I had seen something where it was like, and I didn't mean to get all like, but anyways, I had seen something where this young woman was saying, We have to actively resist. We have to actively be rebellious. And she was saying, do the small things so that when the big things come, it's easier, right? So jaywalk. You know what I'm saying? Like those little things, the small little things, right? If it says take two, take three, right? Something like just the little small things where you're resisting, so that when you are called upon to really carry your cross in Christianity terms, but just if you are when you are called to really sacrifice yourself for the good of another person, right? To help someone else, it's easier to do so. And so yes, I will claim rebellious. I will accept that for sure.
As
Yeah.
you should. Yeah, sorry. Just lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay.
Until I reclaim it, is there where else would you, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna say.
That's okay.
um
How are you rebellious?
oh, in so many ways. Um um I think for me, my big rebellion thing is like definitely taking time for myself. I feel like I'm stretched thin a lot. I carry a lot of plates, but I'm also not, I'm very willing to drop one of those plates when I'm unbalanced. So for me, I feel like that's my main way of rebelling, of doing that. Whether it's like literally me going like, you know what, I've done a lot today. I'm not going to this class today, which is like, yes, some people would find that very detrimental, but for me, it's like I can make up everything I learned in that class in a shorter amount of time. So it's like I understand my own nuances. And then also in like, I don't know, tiny ways where it's like, how would I phrase it? I do a lot of art. So for me, rebellion through art is a big thing. So I wouldn't call myself a naturalist, but I like to incorporate nature back into everything because a big standpoint for me is harmony.
Mm.
That peace is a feeling, but peace can never truly be achieved. Harmony can be achieved because when you have peace in a physical standpoint, it's very stagnant to me. So for me, harmony is the eventual goal of being able to incorporate and be able to go with the ebbs and flows. So I think for me, a lot of my art comes through that. And whether it be like physical pieces, like I've done little sculptures, um, or through like painting. I do a lot of painting right now. I'm doing this big like sunset thing I've been working on for a while. But it's small stuff like that where it's like normally people wouldn't have time for it, but it's like I'm gonna make time for it, and then I'm also gonna sell it to people and make money off of it. But yeah, I guess in small ways.
How are you defining peace?
Um, so peace for me is more of the feeling rather than the physical like attribute. Peace is like being able to be mellow and just it also comes to me in the way of like the cookie cutter way of society, you know what I'm saying, like the nuclear family and stuff. To me, that has always been stagnant. So just by like not always being put into those like boxes of like binarial systems and everything and trying to be like, hey, let's not do that. Let me explore these other cultures. Let me explore the cultures within myself that like for me have been very limited throughout my life because I grew up in a very predominantly white area. So I'm Mexican Armenian. I know nothing about being Armenian. I was very much stripped of that when I was little. I was also very much forced to press my hair like every day, because it was easier for like my stepmother to take care of it. She didn't want to put into the work and everything. So like taking care of my hair, doing that, taking care of my skin, even taking care of my physical body is in my way rebelling as well. That took me a while to think about it.
That's okay. That is definitely rebellious. Yeah, good. Did that help you think of your question?
Thank you. I guess it kind of leads back to that where it's like I hate going back to intersectionality, but I feel like for me it's such a key aspect to people. right? I like to say we're all little D20s with multiple faces, and like we
What's a
all,
D20?
it's a dice with 20 sides.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a
It's
nerd.
okay.
So it kind of brings me back to that of like we have so many dimensions and stuff and being intersectional. Do you think you in some way because you exist in such a multi-level, colorful world, do you think it allows you to see things better about yourself and when you reflect or about the world around you?
Yeah, I think it just gives me nuance and a different perspective. Um, as an educator, man, our education system, like,
Yeah.
it, there's just so much. It's a different perspective, especially like where I teach. I mean, universities in general is predominantly white, but where I teach, there's just this. They've been coddled. A lot of the kids had gone to private schools, homeschooled, but they were coddled, and so it's just this, and they repeat things, and it's like, did you investigate that before you said that? Like, think about what you said. And so I'll give an example. But so again, I teach hip hop, right? Hip hop, a black dance form with influence from Latinos and such, but a black dance form. And I teach the culture of hip hop. I teach the community of hip hop because I'm a part of those things. Um, and like, I don't teach the capitalist consuming industry of hip hop. I don't teach that because I don't have no desire for it.
The beginnings, the like.
Yes. Yes. And so again, because I teach these things and hip hop is resistance, these are the conversations we have, right? I'm an anti-capitalist as much as I can be in the United States of America. And so like these are conversations we're constantly having, right? And I'm talking through how hip hop is rebellious and all these things. And so I had a student who isn't even my student. She just ended up coming into the space I was in. And, we were just chatting and how are you doing? I'm doing good. How are you? Da, 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 da. Oh, what are you doing this summer? Whatever. And she was like, oh, I'm going back home. And I was like, where are you from? Whatever. She's like, oh, it's so different over there now. And I'm like, well, why is it so different? She's like, well, it's really dangerous now. And she grew up in a predominantly white, very wealthy space. And I'm like, well, why is it dangerous? She's like, well, there's just so much more homeless people. And so I was like, so you're saying it's dangerous because there's more homeless people? And she's like, well, yeah. I'm like, are you saying homeless people are dangerous? Like, are they threatening you? Are they violent? And she's like, and she stops and she thinks about it. And she's like, well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, okay, so then what's the comparison? Like, why is it dangerous? Because there's like, I don't understand. And then she's like, well, I guess like they're not actively doing anything. They're just there. So they're just vagrant. And I was like, well, Black folk were also once considered vagrant once they were freed from slave. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like just investigating. Like, listen to what you're saying. You're calling a group of folk dangerous and violent. But do you actually feel that way? Or has that been repeated? And I think because of the space where I live, right, where I did grow up in the hood, right, where I had family who were criminalized, and hip hop is criminalized, and because I have this space and these nuances and the intersection of all of them, my identity, my beliefs, my family, the ancestry I come from, yeah, I'm able to really, I think, see things differently. There's also some blind sides, right? There's also some things I can't always see. Um, but I'm open to them. I'm open to hearing about it. And I think the biggest thing is I'm constantly open to evolve. I don't mind change, love change, but I am open. The things I can see, I want to deal with, and the things I can't see, I do hope that they're brought to my attention so I could, address it in whatever way I can.
Sorry, I'm just taking it in. So it's
Yeah,
like
that's fine.
once again, you're amazing.
Girl, stop. Thank you. That was that.
You are. Um, you leave me speechless so much. It's just I feel like um how I think a lot of people align and feel a lot of the same things you really support and everything, but maybe aren't at a place where they can say it so eloquently. How do I want to phrase this question? So I guess the question I have is like, how did you build up to being as amazing as you are and being able to support as much as you can? Does that make sense?
I think so. Girl, I have no idea. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think I just there's just these beliefs I have. And with that comes the belief of like my neighbor shouldn't, like I should help my neighbor. And I think because of that, it has pushed me to really live within my values. We are walking contradictions as humans, right? We are constantly doing things that we said we ain't gonna do. And I think I just got to a point where I was like, I'm getting lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? Like what I had to realign my values quite a bit. I had to revisit my values and my beliefs quite a bit. But it's like I value human beings. What does that look like? How do I practice that? Right. I value community, right? And so like I'm building these systems of care. And so one way I'm building a system of care is like I have a lot of aloe vera. And so I've been literally harvesting them and taking them and I give them out. And it's just like, I want to build a system of care. I want you to know that I care for your well-being. And while I don't have much of anything at all, I do have this aloe vera. And I want to give it to you because I want you to know that I'm willing to give you whatever I can. And so when you need something, I expect you to believe you can count on me because I've shown up. I've done it. I've brought the aloe vera. We have a garden, which we freely give things away. We're growing so many things. And here, right, to my neighbors. My neighbor, I was talking to him and he was cutting up his nopale, his cactus tree. And I was like, oh, this is the same one I have in my backyard that my grandfather brought for me to our backyard. The house I currently live in is the house I grew up in. My brother bought it for my parents. And so we live here now and they live somewhere else, but we live here now. And so this, again, a family home I've been in. And my neighbor, who's been my neighbor as long as I can remember, and this is the first time I had a conversation with him. And we were talking and I was like, oh, this is how we did our nopales to get it to grow. Try it, see what happens. And then I ended up bringing him some of ours and we've just been chatting. And so I guess the answer is that I really desire community, love and community. And so I want to build that. I'm naturally very disciplined. Don't know how that is, but I am. And so I think I have just been, so when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So when I said I want to live in my values, I do it. And I think that's like the only way I know how to answer your question. It's just what feels good. I also understand that there's some things that don't feel good. There's some things that are not natural. As much as I'm community minded, I'm also very selfish. I love myself. I'm the best thing ever. You know what I'm saying? So like I have to actively choose people. I have to actively choose myself, especially in a world that tells us not to, right? When I think about, and again, when I think about our freedom fighters who were killed, right? Just to stop movements because they didn't want us connected. Because our connections, right? Me bartering something stops you from going and shopping on Amazon. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're stopping that status quo. And so I've actively chose to choose myself and others, I think is how I'm able to do what I do. I don't always do it well, girl. Let me tell you. I mess up a lot.
That's being human. Like,
Yes.
it's, I think there was like, I don't know where I heard this quote, but it was like it takes like 28 times or 28 days for
To
something
make
to
a habit.
start becoming a habit.
Mm-hmm. It's an act. Yeah, it's an active choice. Actively choosing, constantly choosing. And I think there's a lot to say about that. Like that's a lot of life, right? If you choose to marry someone, actively choosing to stay committed, right? You choosing to go to school and study, actively choosing. And I think a lot of times we feel like choice isn't ours. And so it's like, I can actively choose myself and I can actively choose them. And me choosing them and myself, it doesn't have to be in contradiction. There may be some things that are. And so I might have to, okay, if I choose myself today in this area, then I can't actually do that, right? Because we're human. I can't do everything. But actively doing that. Another way, like I'm actively doing that is I dance, right? I'm a professional dancer. I still perform, I teach. And so over the next 4 weeks, I have a performance every weekend. I don't know how I got myself into this, but I do. And they're not all the same dances either. So it's like this. But because I knew I had these things and I also understood the toll it would take on my mind and my body and how I wanted to show up fully for the people I'm committing myself to do this with, I was like, I can't accept anything else. And so yesterday there was a lady who asked me to volunteer for something that's not until July. And I said, and I was about to sign it because I was like, yeah, I'll volunteer. But as I stopped myself, I was like, wait, I said I would not say yes to anything until May. So ask me again in May because I've committed. And sure, this is July. This is a long time then. But I have to actively tell myself no now so I can stick to my word. Even if that's later. Like I said I was not going to make any big decisions on saying yes to something for the next 2 months. And so let's revisit that in May. And that's another way that I can show up for others and myself. It's a lot. It's also a lot of awareness. You really have to be aware. Which I'm not, I mean, yeah, that's it. That's all I want to say.
I feel you. I get you. Yeah. I think you also, just from outside perspective, it seems like you have also a lot of like grit. And I'm a personal believer of like grittiness and grit and like having it to get through things.
What's great? Define, like what
Like,
definition?
it's
Courage and resolve, strength of character. Is that?
it's like having like almost like it's like willpower
Okay, yeah.
and
Yeah,
be like you're willing to get gritty to like overcome. I don't know.
I mean, we all been through some things. So I was looking at the definition. I want to make sure I understood. Um, yeah, girl. Go ahead. What were you gonna say though? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just saying like it seems like you have a lot of grit and like I was wondering like where for you do you feel like that comes from mostly?
I mean, I think how I started off with like the idea of my ancestors and my family. Um, I just again like just resistance, right? Going back to that, in order to actively do that, it's going to take some willpower. It's going to take some discipline. It's going to take a lot of time, which I have, right? I don't work a 9 to 5 like that thing. I work Monday through Saturday. Unfortunately, I wish I didn't work on Saturdays, but I do work Saturdays. And even on Saturdays, my work is volunteer. It's actually volunteer. I volunteer my time to teach dance for this group. But that's still labor. It's a love of labor, but it's labor. But I think, I don't know. I mean, I've always seen my mom do it, but I just didn't want to be exhausted like my mom. That woman's tired. And she's a teacher. She teaches. And we talked about yesterday, every other Sunday, we started this new thing when I lived further than where I live now from them. I live a lot closer now, but where I lived further, I would come to their house every Sunday after church. I'd come over. And then we stopped doing that once I moved into here. And we just recently, my mom and dad were like, they want to spend time with me. Like, y'all want to hang out with me. That's cool with me. I was like, we can hang out, whatever. And it's also different, right? I'm a lot more grown. So our relationship has definitely ebbed and flowed and is different now. But anyways, my dad and my mom want to hang out with me and my brother more. They want us to spend more time together, do dinner. And so we've started doing it again, where every other Sunday, they come here one Sunday, we go there another Sunday. So it's every other Sunday, we just switch houses. And so yesterday they were here. And last week, I was like, all right, guys, I'm taking a nap. So are we doing a family nap? And my mom doesn't nap. She doesn't like it. She says it's hard for her to fall asleep. And then she can't, when she gets up groggy and just not like feeling well. And I was like, well, I mean, you've lived for X amount of years and you never napped. Like, anyways, I say that to say, yesterday, again, I was like, all right, I'm taking a nap. Are we doing a family nap? My dad naps all the time. My dad's retired. So he's like, yeah, let's sleep. My mom and my brother, they don't nap. And they were like, oh, let's just watch a movie. And I'm like, okay, you put that movie on. I'm going to sleep. But I say that to show of like, I think I got it from my mom, except I just have different boundaries than she does. Again, she's, Mexican from Mexico. And when she came here, there was just, the American exceptionalism, right? Don't be too loud so you're not noticed. And right. Especially because she came here, they immigrated here, right? And they didn't do it the legal way at first. And so where it's different for me, I think I get that from her, but I don't want to sleep. I don't have no American exceptionalism. I don't care about any of that.
I don't subscribe to the meritocracy. I know, I feel that. The American meritocracy that feels within like Mexicana families. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. And I think because of that, right, they're just like we look different. But I think I got it from him, from her. And even speaking to that, right? Like my grandfather, migrated here on her side. They came from Mexico. Something I actually recently found out is that he was born in Mexico because his mother and her father and their family were in America and moved to Mexico because they didn't want to go to war. And so, and that's as far as I can get, right? My grandfather is now passed on, and his family are like his siblings and all of them are mainly dead. And so it's like, we can't really go any further than that. But my mom was like, yeah, we were here. They were here. And then they left because we were like, we don't be in somebody's war. We ain't trying to fight nobody. And so it's just like, again, resistance, actively resisting. And then for him to come, he traveled back and forth to, in America and Mexico. And so I think I have this family tree behind me. I got these people behind me who did it. And so I can do it. Just differently. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to, I'm resisting. I'm not going to kill myself.
It changes generation to generation on what resist is and stuff. And then I also love seeing almost this like intergenerational kind of I guess work of like where your mom's always really active and you feel the need and stuff, but how in that too you're able to change it for like maybe something more positive, especially with like added naps and everything. Of like, yes, there is generational traits that are passed down, but sometimes they can be harmful or sometimes they can be turned to good. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think it's also really lovely to see that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
I think kind of jumping off of that, like intergenerational traits, is there ones that you, other than like working from your mom and everything and like having that work ethic and everything, is there any other ones that like you see that you're like, you see in yourself and you're like, that's something I'm either going to change or that's something that I don't want to pass on, or is there something like that?
So in 2018, I was granted, I had a grant I started getting panic attacks, and I don't know why or where they came from. But I was reading a book. Dang. I was reading a book, and I don't know why, but I started really studying trauma, but specifically intergenerational trauma. Sorry, my bookshelf's right here, and I like want to find the book. But I was reading a book, and it was talking about um, trauma, trauma from just intergenerational trauma, right? The reality of, sorry, because I know I'm talking, I'm not even in the screen. The reality of the things that our families have been through and how that gets passed down, right, through DNA, through blood, all this other stuff. And so I started studying the intergenerational trauma, and then I was granted a grant. I was awarded a grant to produce a show about intergenerational trauma, and so I did, through spoken word and dance. And with that, I started to ask my family questions, and that's how I really start to learn things. But it's interesting when I see, especially on my father's side, where they don't know a lot about each other. Then again, yeah, they don't know a lot about each other. Like my grandfather had a sister, and they were separated on my dad's side. They were separated. So we don't know, like there's a lot of unknown, which is a common thing in Black American families. But one day I don't even know, I was at practice, before practice, and I called my father, and I was like, yeah, I had another panic attack. And I didn't realize that I never talked to him about my panic attacks. I was 26 at the time. And he was like, oh, I used to have panic attacks too. And I was like, oh, tell me about them. And it was after he was married before my mom. And it was after his wife died, he started getting panic attacks. And it was at 26 years old. I'm 26. So you were having panic attacks at 26. But yours was, the loss of your love. Mine, I don't know why I'm having them. They just started coming. And I just started to process that of like, what if this is just trauma coming back, right? Just showing itself up. And so that was a great use. I was able to really use that from our show. And the show was really good. And it was it was very healing for me. And like, cause I was expressing a lot of my own trauma through it, expressing my own healing through it of the trauma. And I'm not sure I answered your question, but I think it's interesting that after there was like this freedom. I still dealt with panic attacks a little bit after that, but it felt freeing to be like, this may not be about me. This might just be a symptom of that. And so I journaled quite a bit, and I spent even more time just journaling anytime the panic attacks happen. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
I feel like that answered it. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, there's a thing. Once again, I read it somewhere and I don't remember where it's from.
Me too.
That there's like it takes like 7 generations to get like a trauma trait out, unless you like manually like think about it and are able to like get through it and stuff. But obviously, sometimes it's also like genetic, and like
Sorry.
sometimes like, it can attach itself to the genes and like everything. There's like that type, and then there's also like is what they were called. They were called 2 different things.
Yeah.
The traits are something where you can like consciously think it out and like work it and like talk about it and get healing from it and stuff. It's like something along those lines. I don't remember.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, the Bible also talks about like that we will feel it through the 4th and 5th generation. And so I think there's a spiritual side to it too, right? Like I mean, you see pictures, I look just like my mom. You see pictures, I look just like my grandmother. I look like my great grandma, right? Like, it's not just looks that we, there's some traits we inherit. There's some traumas, but there's also the healing, right? You talk about resiliency. Like, we can also inherit those things as well.
I guess kind of my final questions for you would be, if someone were starting their healing journey or starting to really deep dive, what would your like main words of advice be?
If someone started their healing journey, it takes time. It can always revisit. There's levels, right? So I think of, I was sexually assaulted a little bit ago, not a little bit ago, a while ago. And so I was training for a half marathon 2 years ago. And I mean, I'm training for a half marathon. So I'm running 7-8 miles at a time. And it was my longest run. I had to run 11 miles. A half marathon is 13.9 miles, I believe, something like that. And I had to run 11 miles. And, the first few miles I was doing fine. I was listening to music. Cool. Mile 8, I'm like, I'm bored, right? Mile 9, I start thinking about life. Mile 10, I revisit, the situation that happened to me when I was sexually assaulted. And I realized how it bothered me still. And I realized there was some healing that I hadn't done. I thought it was over this. I thought I healed past this. And what's so funny is I ended up hurting my ankle. But I don't know what I did. Like, I didn't trip. Nothing. But when I think about it now, today is when I realized this. I'm wondering if the ankle was because it was carrying. There was nothing physically, like, it wasn't swollen. There was nothing wrong. But I had to sit out for a week. And this is the week before my run. I had to raise it. I had to ice it. I was done. And I remember just thinking at the time, like, dang, I'm hurt, whatever. It must have been because I was thinking about that and not paying attention. I stepped on something. But when I think about it now, I'm like, no, I think that was the trauma just there in the ankle. And it just needed time to sit there. And I ended up doing great on my run.
Good.
But I say that to say that, like, it came back. I thought I was healed. I thought I was over it. I thought I moved on. And so I think having patience with yourself, being patient, having grace, understanding that it doesn't matter what other people say. I end up bringing it up to my friend, one of my best friends, because I had told her about it then, and she didn't necessarily, it's not that she didn't believe me, but her response wasn't supportive. And so I was like, hey, I justified, because I felt guilty of, like, it's been 10 plus years and you've moved on and I guess I haven't. And that's not fair for me to carry this on you, but it's also like, have grace with myself. It's okay that I realized I was holding on to this and didn't realize it. Like, that's also okay. It's okay. Don't let people scare you into, it's been 12 years and you're still thinking about that. Yes, unfortunately I am. I didn't heal completely. I didn't get over it completely. Or there was still something in my heart. My heart was still broken, right? When trauma is done against someone, especially if it's violent, like, that does something to you mentally, that changes how you operate, right? And so I would say, yeah, be patient, have grace for yourself, on yourself, be open to where healing can come from, right? I think we sometimes think it has to be in the therapy office, me laying on the couch or me sitting on the chair. And it's like, no, it could come from painting, right? As someone who does healing arts through this organization I'm part of, like, it can come from dance. It can come from a release. I don't have to talk about it all the time. I can release it in other ways. I can journal, I can write. And so being able to just be open to it, but then also loving yourself enough to choose to heal, loving yourself enough to face yourself in the mirror and deal with it. It's going to hurt, but it's worth it. And then also not to do it alone. We're not called to be alone. We are called to be in community with people who truly love and care. And so our relationships, let people walk with you through the healing. Let them come with you. Let them support you. That's the only way to heal. That's it. It's a lot, but that's it.